Welcome to Precinct 444, a podcast by the National Law Enforcement Museum located in Washington, D.C. Here at Precinct 444, we cover a wide range of topics surrounding American law enforcement through our 4 core shows and bonus content. Today and in future bonus episodes, we will feature an artist from our current exhibit, Officers as Artists, so they can talk about their law enforcement careers and art interests. Be sure to check back every other week as we publish more episodes featuring an artist. And remember, our core shows are released every other Wednesday, so don't miss those. Thanks for listening, stay safe, and come see us in Washington, D.C.
All right, welcome to Precinct 444. I'm here today with Lee Darnell, who is one of the artists that's featured in the exhibit. So welcome, Lee.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. Such a privilege.
Absolutely. And before we really get started, why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Sure. I'm Lee Darnell. I have a photograph in the exhibit currently. I began my law enforcement career in 1987 as a telecommunicator at a small North Carolina sheriff's office. Got sworn in 1991, and I'm still here, still going strong for a little while longer, probably. I'm currently the public information officer and a sergeant at the Pitt County, North Carolina Sheriff's Office.
Very interesting. And public information officers always have a very interesting job as well. A very unique role as kind of the liaison between the public, the press, and the police department. So we may get more into that as we get through this interview. But before we kind of get into that, tell us a little bit about your piece that's here at the museum.
Great. It's a photograph, color photograph, called Rider of the Storm. And sometimes when I make photos, I'll go out on a mission looking for certain things, going out to certain areas. This day, shockingly, was not one of them. I was on vacation with my family. We were on Grand Turk Island at Pillory Beach there. And while my family was snorkeling just offshore, I was just hanging out in the water watching them. And I happen to have my iPhone. That's an iPhone photo.
Oh, really?
It is, yeah.
That's impressive.
And the storm is blowing in, terrible storm. I'm like, guys, we're going to have to get out of the water, go take some shelter. And I see this horse coming, just full gallop up the beach. He's obviously trying to beat the storm. I'm like, Stop. We're not moving from the water. I have to capture this. And it was a blessing to frame it up and get the shot that I wanted.
It's a very beach scene, but you really can see like the storm coming in and you can feel like being there. And it's always very fascinating to me, especially when people can take photos like the one that you have on your iPhone. It's crazy the ways that you can make that happen. And I love that it was a vacation photo too, like being able to kind of capture that time away from work when you're completely relaxed and still be able to see this, like, I need to take a picture of this. I need to document it. So to get into you as an artist, what inspired you to start taking up photography and this kind of creative pursuit that you have?
Well, I first started it back in, I guess it was elementary school. So we're talking back in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s. I took some photos for the school yearbook. And I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. I can zoom in it and find little things that maybe others aren't seeing. And it just kind of went from there. I would develop my own black and white images at the school, and it was a lot of fun. And the older I got, though, it seemed to fall off. College, I got busy focused on let's build a career. The dating world, that can be a bit distracting. But then later on as an adult, it just hit me again. With everything you could do with cell phone cameras, I'd start taking pictures and, oh my gosh, I've got to step it on up. Let's get a nicer camera and let's make this a hobby again. Let's make this something that people want to see. And so I've sold quite a few images and been in a lot of exhibits, and it's special. Feels really amazing to be able to give that vision that I have of any particular moment to other people.
Absolutely. And I know that you mentioned kind of in what inspired the image that's in our exhibit. You mentioned like going out and trying to have a mission whenever you're thinking about like taking photos and things like that. Kind of expand on that. What kind of missions are you usually kind of on when you're thinking like, I want to take a photo, this is what I'm trying to capture?
Right. A lot depends on where I'm at and the mood of the moment. I do a lot of landscape,
Mhm.
nature, and things like that. I don't feel as comfortable doing people, but
Mhm.
that's something I'm putting myself out there more to do. I may take a mission. I'm going to take my camera. I'm going to spend a few hours walking around town focused on people, take myself out of my comfort zone
Mhm.
and work on new things. Um, it wasn't too long ago, I was at work downtown, and a man stops me. He's homeless, and
Mhm.
it's like, "Hey man, you got a dollar?" I'm like, yeah, I've got a dollar. And sat and talked to him for a little while. Next thing you know, I got a great photo of this man that really speaks to his place and time, all from that interaction. I'll go out and look for something to drive me. I'm going to be in Florida coming up.
Mhm.
And, they have things that we don't have in Eastern North Carolina.
Oh yeah.
Gonna have to get out there and explore some of those cities and the people and some of the landscapes and see what I can make happen.
You mentioned taking photos while you were on the job, your story with the homeless man. So this is a great transition into kind of talking about the dichotomy between yourself as an artist and as a law enforcement officer. Do you think that your decision to create and have this creative pursuit, how does it relate to, or do you see skills from that creative mindset translate into your career as a law enforcement officer?
Absolutely. Each one feeds off the other, as a matter of fact.
Mhm.
Um, it it's been funny over the years. I I may just pass a car and go, "Oh my gosh, babe, did you see that tag expired 3 years ago?" So, how did you notice that? We're going 70 miles an hour. Uh, in this career field, we tend to pay attention to fine details, the things that are said, the things that aren't said,
Mhm.
and look at the environment sometimes a little more critically than other people, and that plays into photography well, in
Mhm.
that I'm looking for something captivating, and sometimes a picture will pop up and I'll say that would be great with an odd angle, something that would really jump out and grab people.
Mhm.
And and my work doing photography plays right into my role as an officer and as a PIO especially, in that I'm trying to put the image of what we're doing out there so the public understands the work we do, sees us as being a little more human and can
Mhm.
support us. So it's a great mix of the two.
Talking about kind of what makes officers human is one of the things that I have really taken from this exhibit. Being able to go through, like when I'm at the office, I can go through the exhibit whenever I want, and it's from talking to artists in these kinds of interviews and things like that as well. It really does a good job of kind of showing these officers in a very human way. Like each piece tells a very different story. Some tell that very specific, like law enforcement story, like it ties directly to their experience as an officer or experience of other officers that they know. But then there's pieces like yours that are not related to law enforcement subject matter at all. But there's that one common thread that binds you all together is that you work in the law enforcement field, that you have this creative type of outlet. And I don't think the general public necessarily thinks about any of us like, oh, they probably go home and they're a photographer or they're a painter or something like that. Like, we don't think about those things as naturally as we're passing people in the street or thinking about the officers that are patrolling in our communities. but then to be able to see this room full of 50 pieces of artwork that are all done by law enforcement officers, it makes you kind of stand back and think like, oh, the officers in my community have hobbies and do things like this just like I do. And being able to kind of have these conversations one-on-one for me has kind of said like, oh, we're all like, we all see our world just a little bit differently. And it's interesting how like I'm an artist, I'm a watercolor painter, and the details that you have to think of, because I mostly do portraits. I'm the opposite. I usually focus on people and expressions and things like that. And being able to notice those subtle differences in like facial structure and things like that, or expressions and things like that, like those are things you wouldn't normally think about. But since I'm working with a piece of paper and painting somebody's like a specific shadow on somebody's cheek or something like that, it's like, oh yeah, like you notice finer details, which is very interesting. And I like the way that you kind of described that, like seeing an expired tag and how that kind of focus is on smaller details is very important. I assume that because you're doing photography and you're working as a PIO, your colleagues have probably seen your photography, have seen your artwork. What do your colleagues think of your work if they've seen it, and what does that mean to you?
Well, I've had a number of comments from them, and it means a lot. Some of them are just surprised,
Mhm.
even though we understand each other and that we're all human, and they still look and go, "Oh my gosh, this is an officer. This is way out of our wheelhouse. This isn't something we all do on our days off." And it sometimes paints me as an oddball, and I can't argue that one much either. But I get some positive feedback.
Mhm.
I tend to put most of my work out there on Facebook for
Mhm.
all my friends and family to see and enjoy, and I find that a lot of colleagues go on and click it, and they'll tell me later, "Oh my gosh, I saw the photo with the horse. That was
Mhm.
amazing. How did you paint those waves?" "I didn't. That's
Yeah.
just the lighting. It's nature gave me that."
Mhm.
So it's been very, very rewarding.
If you could encourage your colleagues to take up a creative pursuit, what would you say to them?
I would just say, having done this for 30 some years, I know the impact it can take on us as individuals, on our families, on our friends. Um, and it's real. And I know it and I feel it. We all have to have an outlet, and a constructive outlet,
Mhm.
in that sometimes we'll make bad choices and not take out these frustrations well. Something like this, painting in your world, um, photography, I don't care, pottery, you name
Mhm.
it. If some kind of artistic expression to get your feelings out there, your thoughts, something to focus on, whether it's a career budding out of that, or just a hobby, I say take it, enjoy it, let it help shape you, who you are now and who you want to be, who you need to be. And you can also give back at the same time. A
Mhm.
lot of us have that drive in us that we want to serve, we want to give something. Well, I feel like it's not the same as saving a life, but when I put a new series of beach photos out there and somebody's like, "That's so beautiful. I need that in my office." That's I'm giving something back. And it's wonderful to be a part of that.
I think that's a good segue into my last question too. You've mentioned you've been part of other exhibits and things like that. Like you're an old pro at this. But the National Law Enforcement Museum is, to most people, a fairly unlikely place for an art exhibit to be. And yet here in our nation's capital, we have an exhibit full of 50 pieces by different law enforcement artists. What does it mean to you to have a piece on display here at the National Law Enforcement Museum?
So I'm just totally swept away by the concept to begin with. I saw it and I'm like, really?
Mhm.
They're doing what? Uh, but to be a part of it's just very humbling, very, I feel so honored, shocked
Mhm.
that you chose one of my pieces to go in there. but it's special. And I think the museum for thinking outside the box, that's something our profession's doing more and more of. And that's great leadership on your part. And it's a great gallery. Having gone through it, some of
Mhm.
the pieces I could just stand there for hours and just trying to think what's in that officer artist's head. It told me a lot going through it myself.
Absolutely. And we love to hear that as well, that it's just as meaningful for our artists going through and seeing each other's pieces as it is for our general public, for us. I know that since it's been open in September of 2024, we've gotten a lot of comments from visitors about how much they've enjoyed the exhibit. And it's a very unique but very relevant topic for us to have here at the museum, and we're pleased that you're a part of it. We love the piece that you have as well, and I know that you and multiple other artists submitted a bunch of pieces and trying to pick which one of each artist's pieces, because we wanted to do one piece from each of the artists that we ended up selecting. It was difficult to pick which one, to narrow down which one we wanted. So everybody's pieces were so unique and so interesting and really do a good job of telling that story of you as an officer and an artist, but that story of all officers that have this very human side to them. And Lee, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me today. To our listeners, Officers as Artists, the creative expression of those who serve, is open at the National Law Enforcement Museum through August of 2025. We hope that you will take the time and come see our exhibit and experience these officers' stories for yourself. But in the meantime, listen to these interviews, hear from our artists directly, and we hope to see you again at Precinct 444. So thank you.
Thanks for listening to this special bonus content featuring an artist from the museum's temporary exhibit, Officers as Artists, where the artworks of 50 law enforcement officers from all over the country are on display now through August 30th of this year. And remember, our core shows are released every other Wednesday, so don't miss those. Thanks for listening, stay safe, and come see us in Washington, D.C. Please subscribe to Precinct 444 on your favorite podcasting platform to stay connected and to receive our latest content as soon as it drops. We would love to hear from you. Send in your questions, comments, and feedback to precinct444@nleomf.org. You can help us make our content even better. The National Law Enforcement Museum is located at 444 East Street Northwest in Washington, D.C., and is dedicated to telling the story of American law enforcement. We expand and enrich the relationship between law enforcement and the community through educational journeys, immersive exhibitions, and insightful programs. Find us online at lawenforcementmuseum.org and stay tuned for more podcast content from Precinct 444. Until next time, stay safe. We'll see you at the Precinct.